You're faster than me. 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 4 through 15. Okay? Now here is what happened that made Saul such a wise man. That his writings are still some of the most popular today. It doesn't matter if they're Christian or not. His Proverbs, his writings, Ecclesiastes, they're all such powerful books, and he was such an eloquent writer. And we know that everything that's good comes from God. If it's that good, it came from God. Okay? 1 Kings chapter 3, starting with verse 4. Now the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. Solomon offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask, what shall I give you?" Now think about this for a minute. How many of you guys, if God appeared right in front of you right now and he said, "Ask whatever you want," what would you ask for? Forgiveness? What else? What would you ask for? Love? Anybody else? Healing? Right? When you have time to think about it, you have all these things. How many people in our world right away would be the first thing, "Lord, I want to win Powerball." Not knowing that they're about to inherit 10 times the problems they had before. "Lord, give me that guy or that girl that I want." And the Lord's like, "I'm keeping you away from them for your good." Right? How many of us would ask for things that would be totally contrary to the plan of God for our own life? Right? So God appears to Solomon and he says, "Ask, what shall I give you?" Amazing response. Verse 6. And Solomon said, "You have shown great mercy to your servant David, my father, because he walked before you in truth, in righteousness, and in uprightness of the heart with you. You have continued this great kindness for him, and you have given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. Now, O my Lord, O my God, you have made your servant king instead of my father David, but I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. Your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. Therefore, give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours?" The speech pleased the Lord, and Solomon had asked this thing. Then God said to him, now listen, how crazy is that? He didn't ask for nothing for himself. He didn't say, "God, make me filthy rich." He didn't say, "God, let me plunder all the armies that come against us." He didn't ask for none of that. Instead, he says, "Lord, equip me to lead your people." Isn't that powerful? Isn't that powerful? God comes down and he says, "Lord, I just want you to prepare me to lead your people in the right way." That was a beautiful answer. And God responds. He says, verse 10, the middle here, he says, "Because you have asked this thing, and have not asked for long life for yourself, nor have you asked for riches for yourself, nor have you asked for the life of your enemies, but you have asked for yourself understanding to discern justice. Behold, I have done according to your words. See, I have given you wise and understanding heart, so that there has not been anyone like you before, nor will there be anybody like you after. And I have also given you what you have not asked, both riches and honor, and there shall not be anyone like you among the kings all of your days. So if you walk in my ways, keep my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your days." Then Solomon awoke, and indeed it had been a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, offered up a burnt offering, offered peace offering, and made a feast for all of his servants. Go ahead and go back to Proverbs 1. So, when you read these Proverbs, you need to understand that God made Solomon wise. He gave him wisdom. And because Solomon asked for wisdom, he said, because you didn't ask for riches or none of this stuff, I want you to know that I'm going to give it to you anyway. I'm going to give you riches. I'm going to give you everything. And I'm going to give you the discernment to lead these people. Solomon was a very, very wise leader. If you remember the dispute the two ladies had with the baby, the way he handled that was genius. Genius. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll get into that one of these days. We'll do a sermon on that. It's amazing. You can read the account. It's phenomenal. The way he handled situations, he was so methodical the way he did it. He would just do it in a way that it was almost psychology in nature, because he would make people turn on themselves and they would be like, oh, wait a minute. And he would prove his point without having to do anything. It was great. Truly, God made him wise. But you notice in the end what God told him? He said, you need to obey my commandments. You keep serving me. You keep serving me. And that's the only thing that was contingent on what God had given him. If you want to live a good life, if you want to keep having this tremendous power and have the same kind of covering that I gave your father David, you need to keep serving me. Obey my commandments. Now, we understand that later on, Solomon went away from that. Solomon began to go away from what God had told him to do. And he began to lean on his own understanding. And it was a very, very, very terrible thing. The purpose of a proverb, as we read some of these proverbs, the purpose of a proverb is to know wisdom and instruction and understand it with no confusion. You see, the Proverbs, the way the Proverbs are written, they're written in a way to fasten themselves to your memory. You see, the Proverbs doesn't tell a full story that you can just follow through. The Proverbs is a bunch of sharp, pointed sayings that just hit you directly to the heart. And they focus on many different things, on justice, on pride, on humility. There's several things that Proverbs deal with. And it's awesome. You know, it's like the world has their version of it, right? Like you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get a fortune cookie, and you're all excited, and you're like, you open it up, and it's, okay, he who climbs the tallest tree has rights to the fruit. Awesome. What does that mean? Right? And they have their way of doing it, right? There's people that go to all kinds of things. Let me say this so that anybody in here that does this, you can know that it's an error. And if you want a deep dialogue on it, please come and see me, and we can set up a time where we can dialogue and I can show you the Word of God. But people go to fortune cookies and they really believe it. They're like, oh, I'm going to keep this in my wallet because this is good, right? People go to a horoscope, astrology, and they read that. That's demonic in nature. That is actually looked down upon by God. It is called an abomination. It's an abomination to God when you look at signs of man, when you look at astrology. That's all demonic in nature. Well, didn't God give us the stars? Yes, He did. Didn't He use them? He used them for direction, just like navigators today use them. He didn't use them to tell you that you were going to hook up with Chloe down the road from you next week, as long as it's crazy. But people, even Christians, I see, they get up and right away they post their I'm a Libra, post this on there. That's demonic in nature. You're a Christian. Look to the real Proverbs and let God tell you how to live your life. You want to fasten something to your mind, fasten a saying from the Word of God and stand on His understanding, not some newspaper writer from Chicago that's just sitting back there pulling up stuff on the internet and randomly throwing it out.